Owl Bob, and I'm here, and we're going live. We got the live chat going. I just had a nice little brunch, and here we are. I think it's the 13th of November. Time's flying by, and I did some shopping, and I started to see the police rounding up Hispanic folk in the parking lot. It was interesting. And it definitely put as the white people like me came out with their shopping carts full of food. Mine's not as full as most, but I kind of trundled along, and they kind of semi-parked right in front of me. And I didn't, they wasn't for me, or it wasn't until I came around and saw that they had a bunch of Hispanic folk sitting on the ground with their hands tie wrapped behind their back. And I said, should I take out my camera and videotape this? No. Just move on. Nothing here to see. And I did. I just put my few little bags of groceries into the car and moved on, and because I have other things to do. But I move slow, and as I move slow, I'm like always aware of what's going on. And that's what you need to do. You need to know your 360. You need to know what your 20 is, and what you're doing. Most people are just puddinheads. They're not even thinking about what they're doing. They're so self-absorbed and self-aware of nothing that they walk right into the buzzsaw. And they voted for Donald Trump, pretty much. I'm sure you can manipulate the consciousness of the voting public by the choices you give them, right? Now, we gave them Donald Trump up front, but J.D. Vance is kind of in the background, and he's going to be president, right? Because Donnie, is going into office being years older than Biden was when he went into office, right? So he's going to be the oldest elected president in American history, right? So, our old founding fathers, they weren't. They were like in their 30s and 40s. So this is the first time that this old of a person is going in, and the people around him, he is not aware what's going on. So, that whole heritage crew is in there, and, and the people he's picking, he's not picking those people. People are putting them in there. And no one is, really part of the establishment, of the global order. But they are, because what we're experiencing is a reset, right? And it's going to push us into total chaos, because I had to see what the new Donald Trump administration and 4 years are going to be like. Just look at the last 4 years of Donald Trump, He did virtually nothing except what the rich people wanted, right? He caused chaos on the world view, meaning he told, NATO, hey, I'm going to pull out unless you start spending money, blah, blah, blah. Which kind of gave Ladd the green light to do what he did, once Biden got in. And Biden, by pulling out of Afghanistan in such a way, it gave everybody who was ever going to depend on America for support to realize that there's no support. There we were 20 plus years in Afghanistan, and we got it down to 2,500 guys who basically kept the lid on it, and we could have stayed there like we did in Korea and kept the lid on things, but we didn't. We left. So Israel would have the opportunity to go buck wild, right? And so that's where we are today. And everything is kind of scripted. Everyone gets very upset with me when I said that there is no real dynamics in world politics. What you got to do is look at it. And really look at it, since recorded history, 16,000 years, since Mesopotamia, right? Pretty much the same thing. Our timeline isn't a straight line. It's a circle. It goes over and over and over and over. Now, there are periods of time when there's opportunities, right, for things to actually kind of change. And that's where we're now. But, Mr. Globaloney wants, the Federation wants Star Trek. That's why Gene Roddenberry, whose job before he was producing TV was he was in naval intelligence. Just like the guy Bernstein or the other one in the motif of, Nixon. Nixon was, he basically said, listen, Dick, we are going to let you be president for 2 votings in, but this is what you got to do, this, and this, and at the end, you're going to go out in a blaze of glory, right? You're not going to go to jail, but you'll be one of the more maligned presidents in the near future. As future goes past, people will see that you were actually a pretty good guy. Meaning, you started the EPA, you started this, you started that, you had Medicaid, Medicare, all of the above, right? LBJ just kind of talked about it, and he did basically nothing. He just did stuff to disrupt the African American economy. When Jack Kennedy was president, we had Jim Crow. Jim Crow's unexpected consequence facilitated basically black Americans to turn D.C. into chocolate town and run the federal government. I mean, I just had an experience of that yesterday. One of the YouTubes that are rendering will probably come up, and you might get a little taste of what happened. And I was at this place I hang at, really good food, but they put sugar in everything. So, every time I go eat there, my blood sugar is jacked up by, 100 points. And so I basically was sitting outside. It was a beautiful day. The sun was on me, and I was also in the shade, so I could not be broiled. And the wind wasn't too bad, and it was about almost 60, so it was nice, right? So I'm sitting out there, and as people came in and going, I was talking to them and telling stories, etc. And these 3 people came out, right? And one was a young black woman who was nicely dressed, but, not in a suit or anything, but in, nice pants, nice shoes, nice blouse, nice jacket, nice hair, nice earrings, nice jewelry, nice makeup. I mean, she was very nice, right? Then there was a Hispanic young man, probably in his mid-30s, and he had obviously been in the Marines, because he had Marine tattoos all over him, and you could see where he was deployed. He had a thing for Fallujah and Irdu, and the years he was there, and so I knew what was going on. So he was in Fallujah when things were a little iffy, and when Obama was president, and more people died, and more war occurred in Iraq under Obama than under Georgie Porgy. So it's anyway. So that was her, and then there was a Hispanic gentleman, and then and he was obviously from Puerto Rico, and then there was a elderly gentleman, probably 10 years younger than me. So he was probably in his somewhere 60s. Because I'm in my somewhere 70s heading towards 80. Anyway, so, and he was relatively tall. He had obviously been in shape his whole life, so he was in the military. And he was also obviously, because as I walked out, I said, "Yo, troop," right? And the girl got in the back seat. And that's when I knew she was in charge, because when there's 3 people in a car and one person gets in the back, and the other 2 guys sit in the front, the one in the back's in charge. When you're in a limousine, the person who's wearing a nice suit and paying for it doesn't sit up front. They sit in the back. So she's sitting in the back. And the other thing is, the driver's seat was pulled all the way up, so was the shotgun seat, right? So And I kind of glanced, I'm not standing yet. I'm still, I said, yo, two, right? So the two of them got in the car, started it, and the older guy kind of stopped and looked at me. And he had an ID, right? He had one of those things around your neck, and there's, the coded thing with your photo. Well, this guy had a super duper, if you ever worked at a concert and you had your ID, necklace, there's like 3 or 4 cards. You got your, and all kinds of, you can get in this place, that place, blah, blah. Well, this guy had, and I could see it because he had his coat open, and all 3 of them had their IDs relatively hidden. They didn't have them exposed, right? And I only saw that he had it around his neck, right? And I could see the top of the card, right? And the top of the card had this whole metal bar on it, right? So there was an electronic device in there, right? And anyway, so when he turned, his card kind of came out, and it had, RFID things all over it, and that little square with the squiggles in it, that you let your phone, gives you entrance to stuff, he was a digital boy, right? And he had, and he turned, and he had an earpiece in his ear, right? So this guy's totally wired, right? And so I say, I asked him a few questions. I said, and the music was kind of playing in the background. I said, the only best music I said, Q died just a few days ago, Quincy Jones. And I said, Q. So he goes, Quincy Jones was amazing. So I go, so you're a boy of the 70s. And he goes, yeah, but I love jazz. And I said, oh, so you're a little older than most 70s kids. And so I said, so you graduated high school in 74. And he goes, how'd you know? And I said, and I kind of started saying, I said, and you were an Army brat, right? And then your dad went into diplomacy, and you followed in his footsteps. And you were either in you're probably in naval intelligence, right? And I just keep going like that, and he's like, And then I said, let me read your palm. And so I read his palm, and he's like, guys, get out of here. And the way they represented, he was the boss, but he wasn't. The girl was the boss, right? He was just there as like the person who's been involved in this, right? And so I see his thing, and so he notices me seeing his ID card, and I say, so you're FEMA. And I say, so you're the cleanup crew. And he goes, what? I said, you guys are too relaxed to have been here when the event happened. And, because I was kind of in the middle of it, I was over at the community center. He said, you ran that place? I said, no, no one ran it. We all made it happen. And he goes, so he gets us to, and I read his palm, they're listening, and they go, And I go straight to the girl, and I go, so, you're from Chocolate Town, right? And the 2 boys, the older guy kind of knew what I was talking about. The younger one was like, what is he, being racist? What's wrong, right? And I said, and you're no DI, EDI or DIE or whatever that is, person. You got gene pool in this. And she's like looking at me. I said, yeah, your mom. She's a big wig in Homeland Security. And she's like, and she goes, what are you talking about? I said, listen, you're in charge. You're sitting in the back seat. You got the best clothes on. Your phone is not like theirs, it's, something special, because she's holding it like it's something special. And I just went on, and I said, let me see your palm. And I just got every little nip out of her, and she's like, and then I hit the Mexican, and, the Puerto Rican, and I said, brother, and I said, Fallujah, right? In 2006, right? Because his tattoos on his arm. He's got a short sleeve shirt. It's all on his arm. You're a Marine, right? Then you went into security, right? You went into, you survived Fallujah, and they gave you a bone, so they put you in guarding diplomats, and you like that, and so they kind of put you in Homeland Security, and you like this, and you like what you're doing because you're having a sense that you're actually helping. Rather, when you were in Fallujah, you were just killing. And he's almost about to start to cry, right? And I put my hand on his shoulder and go, it's okay. You're fine. You did well. You did nothing wrong. The others above you are to blame, right? Then I went on to the older guy and started talking about, I used to work for Brookings back in the 70s when they were putting together FEMA and Homeland Security. And they go, what? And I said, yeah, it was a done deal, As soon as the Shah got cancer, as soon as he walked in front of that emitter and got cancer, and then we brought the Ayatollah back from Paris on a KC-130. And this guy probably was observant of this, because I'm sure he went into the military straight out of high school. They put him, sent him to some really good training, and because he charted off the charts and the tests, and so there I was out in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, in a podunk little restaurant, talking to three, well-placed folk, and I don't really ask, I just kind of keep telling them stuff, right? So the owner, he comes out, he's smoking over in the corner, he goes, "Ow, don't blow their minds." And the girl looks at him, he goes, "So who is he?" And, the guy who owns it, my buddy, goes, "Oh, that's Al, he's been here forever. If you want to know anything, you just ask him. People who think they know stuff try to trick him, and he's the most humble guy. He's always there to help. He's loads of fun at a party, and he can barely walk, barely breathe, barely see, but he can still dance." And so the black girl is getting intrigued. And anyway, so we talk more, and I say, okay, before you leave, go, and I'm telling you this too, subscribe to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensie Owl Bob, so they can go on their devices. And she goes, "Oh, it says that you're doing a live chat right now." I said, "Yeah." She goes, "But it's black. What's that?" So, I put the phone in my pocket. I was talking to somebody else, and you guys came into my field, and so when the 3 shows that are rendering come up, if that one doesn't show for some reason, that must have been a pretty interesting one, because I never take anything of my stuff. Now, nobody watches, nobody cares. But the powers that be love that I'm there. They love the fact that I am talking to you this way right here, right now, because it gives a semblance. I am the perfect loyal opposition. I don't care. I don't really have a stick in the fight. I'm not emotionally involved with the history of what's going on right in front of us, because it's the same history that's going on in front of us for the last 16,000 years, right? Now, I'm concerned about the individual, whereas most politicians is turned around. They don't care about the individual. They are more concerned about whether they get reelected. And so we are about to experience something close to the French Revolution. There's going to be heads on the pike. Go to D.C., there are all these wrought iron fences around the old buildings that have pikes, because they learned back during the Civil War that when the Irish Rebellion arose on Manhattan, the cops couldn't keep them down, because the people could just fan out anywhere. So they would organize and centralize at a park, and then the cops would show up, and then they would split like cockroaches, right? When the light gets turned on in the kitchen. And so that's why in New York City you go there and you look at all the parks, and there are these abutments of stone, if they're old parks, abutments of stone, and then wrought iron fences, black wrought iron fences with pointy points, meaning you don't want to get on that end of the point, because what happened when they started doing it, because they had excess of pig iron, of wrought iron, because they were in the middle of a civil war, so the steel mills were kicking out lots of those rods. So, like New York City has all these fences, so they can control a population. So, and the other part of it is, when things get really bad, the state, they're going to bring back the guillotine and knock that head off. And they said the guillotine was the most humane way of killing people because it kills you pretty, when you separate your head from your body, you're going to be dead pretty quick. But what was really interesting was when they first started doing it, the head would fall off and roll across the stage and then onto the floor and then into the audience, and the head would still be, and the eyes would be blinking, and the mouth would be going, but there was no air in the lungs because the lungs were back there, right? So that's why they put the basket there, right? And then threw a tablecloth over it, because they didn't want anyone seeing the guy going. So, get ready for that. But in our telegenic world, there will be no basket, right? The head will be cut off, stuck on a pike, and still blinking on the fence. And I would say that could happen relatively soon, because we all love a good TV show, right? And this is going to be the best type of, what do you call that? Reality TV. America's going to be the best. The whole country's going to be the best reality TV. I mean, how are they going to kindly, gently grab 11 to 20 million folk in the United States, right? And try to deport them. Well, basically they did that to the Japanese, and they wanted to deport those Japanese, but they couldn't deport them because they were American citizens by 5, 10 generations. The Japanese had been here longer than the Irish. So anyway, so what they did was they used this ancient law and stuck them in camps out in the middle of Utah or wherever they stuck them. And we're talking about almost 1 million people, right? And we let them play baseball and, had bands and stuff like that, but they still were in a barbed wire fence, and they went up past the barbed wire fence, they got shot. So, and all their young men were sent off to fight for Uncle Sam in Europe. They lost the most serious battle that America went up to was in Italy, Messina, in those mountains. That's where we lost most of our American soldiers, and most of them were Japanese. Don't hear too much about that. They were the most decorated unit in all of World War II. Didn't hear that. The most decorated air unit in the World War II in the United States was the Black Tuskegee Airmen. Didn't hear that. I mean, there were bomb groups who wouldn't fly unless the Tuskegee guys were watching their back, right? So, history is an interesting thing. I mean, seemingly no one wants to learn anything from it, but it's a great story, and we're about to have the best reality show history has had. So, get ready, buckle up. You're going to be a star. And I'm way out in the middle of nowhere, but by me just coming to do a little grocery shopping, and Donnie's not even in power yet, but there were a bunch of Hispanics. Now, there are a lot of Hispanics everywhere. You don't see them. It's like black folk during Jim Crow. You just don't see them. But you're going to feel them because you're not going to get any chicken. You're not going to have vegetables. You're not going to have any houses built. You're not going to have anything. The toilets in the restaurant are going to be awful dirty. All the jobs that white Americans don't want to do, period. It's not like these Hispanic people are taking the jobs away from the white people. No, right? And the white people will be forced to do those jobs, right? They might get paid a little more than the Mexicans, but they're still going to be forced. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a mix of Hunger Games and the other one, Handmaid's Tale. So we're getting down to one. No one said anything yet, so I'm going to go. Let's see, what time is it really? Oh, it's not even 12 yet, you know. But I am going to go because I got things to do. So unless somebody says something, ask a question. You know, that's what this show is. This is a live chat. It's designed that you ask a question or give a comment, and then I comment on your comment. You know, that's what Dreamy Dreamland with Sensie Owl Bob's about. And people go, Sensie Owl Bob, what is this Dreamy Dreamland thing? And you hear it here and there, right? But it's at first people's concept, in that they understand that this ain't reality, and that this is the dreamland. You know, this is the dreamland, right? Dreamy, and everyone's in a dream, right? That's why it's Dreamy Dreamland, right? And until you become conscious, you know, aware, right? So here, let's give you a show. Now take a nice big breath. Fill those lungs. More. Breathe it out, right? Any more people here? Come on. Are you still breathing? Michael J. in Germany. Is Germany a dream? Everything's a dream, buddy. Nothing is not a dream. I'm not connected. How come? Yes. Loading. No, I can't do that. So every place is a dream. MJ, why did you take your comment down? Please. Hey, bud.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm breathing. Oh, do. Anyway, don't be scared of anything, you know, because this is just a dream. And I can dream about anything I want. And what's really interesting, because, you know, as a shrinky boy, I've been dealing with dreams for at least 60 years, right? On a scholastic, on a intellectual, on a metaphysical sense, you know, on a medical sense, right? And what I used to tell people, you know, before smartphones, I'd say, do you have a tape recorder? You know, a little tape recorder? And, you know, if you don't, go get one. And keep it beside your bed. And when you wake up and there's that dream, wow, what's that about? Instead of jumping out and brushing your teeth, hit the record button and say, wow, I just had a dream about it. And then let it unload, blah, 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 right? And see what happens, right? Then, once it's all recorded, you can go back and listen to it at your own leisure. You'll miss. Could you do me a big favor? I thought I was on your site, but which one are you?
It's going to be awesome bagels.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Your fingers. You're that generation that you can do it. I can barely see the screen. There I am.
There you go.
Thank you, dear.
Yes, sir.
What's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Let's see your palm. Let's hand your right way. you're very close to the vest. Your friends love telling you secrets, but you never spill the beans. You could be passive aggressive, but you don't care, so you're not. Let's see, turn your hand this way. You are really smart, and what's more important, you have common sense. You don't let things get in your grill because you worry so much. Stop it.
You're right. I do worry a lot.
Beyond belief. Is there any good for it? No. Is it a good habit? No. So it is a habit. Put something better in its place. Every time you go towards that, think about something better.
Okay.
Something you want to do. How am I going to do this thing I really want to do? And visualize you doing that thing you really want to do. What are you studying?
I'm an art student.
Oh, I was a big-time artist in New York, in Paris. Did you ever hear of Kiki Smith?
No.
Go look her up on your phone.
Okay.
And my little channel is Dreamy Dreamland with Sensie Owl Bob.
Okay.
And if you forget it, come back when you got a moment. Before that gets cold. And sweetheart, yo. Oh, I missed her. So anyway, did you hear the advice I gave the young'un? That's what it is. The girl in front of me, she's just a little depressed. She's like sleeping at the chair. And she's not even a homeless person. Anyway, so anyway, she got me online. Let's see. We will do. So it's on. We're there. We're this. We're that. It's that. It's coming on there. Yep. The most powerful frequency of the universe. Now that sounds like a good one. Wall Street Journal.
The Wall Street Journal.
Can you hear that? So if it really is the most powerful frequency in the universe, even if you can't really hear it that well, it says it's 100%. So anyway, so breathe that breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. So, I'll stay here a little longer. There's three of you here. Come on, let's have some questions. So keep breathing deep, right? Hear the most powerful frequency there is. And clear out all the bad thoughts that just seem to pop in your mind. You know, when you go on your device, your phone, and you go on YouTube or the internet, and all this stuff just keeps popping up. Bing, 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 bing. And it'll just load up in front of you. But the best thing is just to swipe it out of the way. Just swipe it out of the way, right? And that's what you do with mean or bad or troubling thoughts, right? So I had a dream last night, right? And it's really bucolic dream. When I was a young man doing things, like I was part of the union, Local 3 IBEW, one of the younger union guys. It's definitely the youngest journeyman, definitely the youngest master, and definitely the highest, youngest, what do they call those guys? When you are in the union hierarchy, you know. So anyway, and I was working on the World Trade Center. But when I wasn't doing that, the union actually was a pretty good social entity, meaning the union house wasn't just a place that guys sat and drank coffee waiting to get a job. there were things there. There was a medical center there. There's a cafeteria there. There's a library there. You could go to school there. And it was also for people who weren't even part of the union. They, like special ed kids, they had a gym and they had played basketball and field hockey and you name it. It was a great place. So everything in Local 3 in IBEW world that was socially active, I was part of because I wanted to build a thing showing that, boy, this guy is really socially active. I mean, maybe he thinks for himself. I don't think he should be in the Army, right? So that's what I was building what they call a curriculum vitae, right? So I was doing that. And so I was exposed to that motif of what was going on in the world. And that's when I bumped into Adam Purple. Like when I was 16, I bumped in, maybe even younger, maybe before I started working for Grandpa Stahl. Somewhere between 11 and 16, I bumped into Adam Purple in Washington Square in front of the NYU. And there are all these like concrete tables that have chessboards built into them, and people can play chess or checkers. And Adam, because it's all these college professors who think they're really smart, and he would play 5-6 games of chess with a clock, make a move, hit the clock, the other guy, right? And so if before the game's over, if the spread between you and the other guy is more than 5 minutes, meaning if the other guy is thinking about it more than you are, and the spread gets to 5 minutes, you lose, right? And that's how at least Adam played, right? And he'd have a Benjamin, and he'd put it under the clock and say, okay, I'm playing for that, right? If you win, you get that. If I win, I get $20, right? So all these smart people, sit down, and he would spend 4 hours there, and he'd walk away with at least $800. I mean, that's how he would just, we didn't kill him within 5 minutes after the 5-minute boundary between them and him. He would, okay, next. And there'd be a line there because all the other guys wanted to show up the other guys that they could beat this guy who looked like a homeless guy. Before they were homeless, they were bums. They were called bums, right? But they were amazing men. That's what they were called, amazing men. They all knew about Gurdjieff, They all knew about Ouspensky's books about Gurdjieff, right? So that's where I learned about, the esoteric. I met my Billy Kluver, my mentor of the Council on Foreign Relations. My parents lived on Park Avenue and 69th Street, and I used to walk the dog down to the park, and I'd walk right by there, and there'd be Automation House. And my dog and I would be mesmerized. We could see what was inside, but we couldn't get inside. So one day, this big tall guy, I just noticed him there. I didn't see him walk up or anything, and he goes, kind of fun, isn't it? I said, yeah, what is that place? He goes, it's a magic land. I said, yeah, but I've been trying to get in there for the last 6 months. How do you get in there? He goes, just walk through. I said, yeah, I've tried that. I know you can't see the window. It's kind of curved, and you step in, you fall down into the drain there, and I've done that 3 or 4 times. They go, no, go ahead, do it now. And I did, and I walked straight into the place, and the dog was like, ooh. He jumped right in, and Billy came right behind, and then he says, now, try to get out. And we turned around, and the thing, bing, I hit my head on it, and he goes, nothing is as it seems to be. And then he showed me everything. And this was before anyone knew about holograms, and he showed me holograms, how he had these things that were floating in the air. What is that? It's a hologram, but it's moving. It's seemingly talking. You want to hear it say something? Here, he push a button, and he had this little fob in his pocket. He could control everything from the fob. And this is like, I don't know, 66, maybe 65. I I'd even been earlier, right? So it was after Jack got whacked. And so anyway, any other mentions? Let's see, what time is it? I'll talk for a little longer. There's still 4 of you there. So how about some more thumbs up, Tomorrow I have other engagements, so I'll probably do a show or 2 tomorrow. Probably do 1 more today. What else can I say? Be nice if you guys, so everything is a dreamland, right? And I got that from the Aborigines, right? And they showed it to me. They showed me the difference, they had these sacred sites out in the desert, right? They're called quabaries, right? And these guys didn't have, this was before people knew about GPS, but they had it. And this old guy who was older than dirt, he was so old that when he was a boy that he could still remember, and this guy could remember, he remembered being born. And he was the guy who told me that life is a circle, and you just keep coming back. And he didn't say, oh, you reincarnate, it's a circle, it's not a line, right? And anyway, so he would take me and show me sacred sites, right? And there were quabaries, these points out there. And then there were more, caves with sacred things in them, right? Like libraries, right? And the white people never knew they existed. They thought the Aborigines were stupid, didn't have a written language, wouldn't let their picture be taken because, their soul was being stolen. And these guys never told them that. They just would, and it's not like, don't take my picture, you're stealing my soul. No, it was more like, let's see if I can lasso M. Hey, Emily. Nope. That thing of a restaurant where you don't listen to anybody unless you have to, unless they're right in front of you and you're talking straight out. So anyway, so we're walking out in Queen. No, she ignored me completely, even though I called her a queen. So anyway, so we're walking around. The first time we went walking out back, we're out in the desert, right? And we're walking, we're talking. Every time we find like where there used to be a spring or there used to be life, we'd stop and look at it, and he was a real anthropologist, right? And his name was David too. Every elder of first person lineage, Iroquois, Navajo, Hopi, Walamajiri, their names were David, right? So, and that was their, and they'd all say, well, this is my slave name, right? Owl Bob is not my slave name. It's just my handle, right? Sensei is my given name by the spirit guides, and all that means is teacher, right? Doesn't mean any hot diggity, but, teachers should have a amount of respect given, because they give it all the time to the students, right? They're always there for the students, just like I'm always there for you guys, right? The cadre. So, what else can I say? We're down to 1 person, only 2 likes. So, yep. When it gets to 44, I'm going to sign off. So, anyway, the first time we went walking out back, we came across, we were looking for a sacred artifact, and we're out in the middle of the desert. There's no anything, no stone, it's like 100 miles of sand in any direction. Anyway, he stops, he starts, gets on his knees, he starts digging, and right where he's in front of, down about 10 inches is a red plastic Samsonite suitcase. He pulls it up, pulls out a stick and twine and dirt and feathers, and he puts it together. He urinates in a cup. He puts the sacred dirt in there, and then he paints a thing on his face, and he does the ceremony, and the stick and feathers turn into a bird, right? And I, with my trusty Bolex, filmed the whole thing and sent it back to the Home Office in Adelaide. And after I sent enough of that, they came and said, how did you fake that? I mean, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. How am I supposed to fake that? I didn't. I documented what happened. And that's what I'm doing here on Dreamy Dreamland with Sensie Owl Bob. So, you got a chance to say something about 10 seconds before I go. No one asks a question. See ya. Bye-bye. So long. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Remember that skit from Saturday Night Live? Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Here we go. 3, 4, 5. 45, 45.